Welcome back, everybody, to the lockdown edition of Gemology for Schmucks. My name is Peter Nelson, and this is my apartment. So I'm understanding that everybody worldwide is going through this pandemic, and we're going through it together. And so I thought, you know what? Why am I going to let this stop me? I've got gems around the house. You need knowledge, and so here I am to lay it on you. Today, what I'd like to talk about are some of the classic cuts for gemstones. And I don't want to just give you a whole bunch of names of cuts and make you memorize them. No. In fine Gemology for Schmucks style, what I would like to do is give you some scaffolding so that you can understand what gem cuts are. Regardless of their names, there are a few main components for gem cuts, and once you understand these, it will make your life much easier. Gemstone cuts. When we're identifying a gemstone cut, what you need to do is three things. The first thing we're going to do is look at the stone from the crown side up. If you don't know what a crown is, please watch my other video before continuing with this one. So we're looking at the stone from the crown up, and we're looking first at that outline. The outline shape name is going to be the first part of the gem cut name. If it is a near perfect circle, that's what we call a round. If it's an off-round shape, that's what we call a oval. It's all the common shapes that you've known about since preschool. However, there are a few others that you may not have heard of, so I'd like to cover those briefly now. The teardrop shape, we don't call a teardrop, we call it a pear for whatever reason. If it is pointy at one end and round at the other, that's what we call a pear. If it is pointy at both ends, that's what we call a marquise. Please do not say Marquise or Marcus. You will disturb me. The other very common shape that a lot of people don't know the name for, if you've got a square or a rectangle with the corners cut off, that's what we call an octagon, because it has, 8 sides. So first things first, we've got the name of the outline of the shape, and that's going to be the first part of our gem cut name. Once we have the name of the outline of the stone shape, what we're going to do is look at the crown facets and the pavillion facets of the stone, and we put those two cutting styles together, and we know after that what the name of the cutting style is. So let's focus on the crown first. The crown facets, if you have a table in the middle and radiating out from that table you have triangular and kite-shaped facets, then that is what we call a brilliant cut crown. The brilliant cut is what most people associate with diamonds. This is a style of cutting that was mathematically designed to increase what's called scintillation. Scintillation in everyday terms is what we call sparkliness. There's an in-depth scientific discussion on how that happens, but basically what you can keep in mind is that with all of these sharp geometric shapes at different angles, it increases the variety of angles that light enters the stone. And so there are more rays of light bouncing around from different directions, and that creates more play of light. That different play of light is what creates scintillation. So any of the gem cutting styles that have lots of little facets, that's going to increase scintillation, as long as that critical angle is correct, right? Brilliant cut top, you've got a table in the middle, and radiating out from it, we've got triangle and kite shapes. Brilliant cut. The other major way of cutting a gem's crown is using what's called step facets. When you look at the crown of the stone and you notice that there are facets that stair-step up towards the table, that's what we call a step cut. The most popular step cut is what's called an emerald cut, because it's typically used with emeralds, right? In contrast with brilliant cut, step cuts do not increase scintillation, but they increase the fullness of the reflection of light. Stones that focus more on the color that they have and the fullness of their color oftentimes benefit more from something like a step cut, because when the facets are illuminated, they have a lot of presence. You can kind of think of it this way. A teenager can get away with wearing glitter because they're just running around, they're full of life. Whereas if you put glitter and a big pink boa on your grandma, it looks way out of place. She should look majestic. And that's what a step cut does. A step cut, when the facets are properly cut, illuminate at the same time, and they give you a lot of presence and majesty, just like your grandmother. Once again, step cuts are typically long trapezoid-shaped facets that stair-step up towards the table, or away from the table. So first we've got the outline. Second, what are the shapes of the facets on the crown? And then now we turn the stone over and we look at it from the pavillion. There are 3 typical ways that facets are cut on the pavillion side, and there are modifications on each of them. There's the stereotypical brilliant cut, which is triangular and kite-shaped facets that go from the girdle all the way to the culet. Some different modified versions of the brilliant cut also exist, but typically they are going to employ kite-shaped and triangular-shaped facets going from the girdle to the culet. And those facets on the step cuts are going to typically be large, long shapes so that they illuminate at the same time when light bounces off of them. When the facets are smaller, it increases the amount of scintillation in the stone, remember. So when light is coming through the crown and bouncing off these back facets down at the pavilion, it creates pops and flashes of color, and it works really well for certain stones, less well for others. As a quick review, we've got 3 steps. First, we're going to look at the outline of the stone. Then we're going to look at the crown. How is that cut? Is it more of a brilliant cutting or is it a step cutting? And third, we're going to look at the pavilion. Is it cut more as a brilliant or more as a step? Are the facets larger or smaller? And once we have these 3 pieces of information, then we can name the cut. So enough of this talking head, let's look at some stones, which fortunately for you and for me, we've got lying around my house, and I can show you what some of these different cutting styles are and what we call them. So let's check it out. First things first, we look at the outline of the gemstone. We can see that these 5 stones are all in a near perfect circle, which means they are round. And if you look at the table, you can see that there are some facets that are triangular or kite-shaped, radiating out from them. So we know this is a brilliant cut crown. As we turn the gemstone over, we can see that there are facets that go all the way from the girdle to the culet that are triangular shaped or kite shaped, and this is also a brilliant cut. We have brilliant cut on the top and brilliant cut on the bottom, with the facets reaching from the girdle to the culet. So this is the stereotypical diamond cut or round brilliant cut. This piece of red tourmaline, you can see on the left-hand side that there are triangular facets that are radiating out from the table. This is also a brilliant cut. And as we turn the stone over, we see kite-shaped facets, but the facets are not complete from the girdle to the culet. And so this is a little bit of a modified brilliant cut. It has a little bit more of what we call a bulge. And this is not the strict diamond cut or round brilliant cut. So this is a round modified brilliant cut. As we look at the video, we can still see that the crown is cut in the same way as the normal brilliant cut, but the pavilion side is not a strict brilliant cut. So we call this a modified brilliant cut. This next piece of zircon, if you look at the outline, you can see that it is a rectangle with the corners chopped off. This is what we call an octagon. And you might be able to see the facets that are triangular radiating out from the top. This is a brilliant cut. As we turn the stone over to the pavilion side, you can see triangular shapes, trapezoid shapes, and kite shapes. This is a very modified brilliant cut. This stone is a perfect example of why you don't need to know all the names of the cuts. You just need to know that it's a modified brilliant cut. Somebody was getting artistic in their cutting style. As long as the cutting style is getting a lot of scintillation out of the stone and good light return, then they can cut it however they want. On this piece of bluish-green tourmaline, you can see that once again it's a rectangle with the corners chopped off. This is what we call an octagon. You can see that instead of triangular or kite-shaped facets, it has long, more trapezoid-shaped facets. This is what we call a step cut. As we turn the stone over, once again, it's long, big facets that are more trapezoid shaped. This is very typical of the step cut. Same with this sapphire. You can see long strips of facets. These are step cuts. As we turn the stone over, it's the same. Long strips of trapezoid facets. These are step cuts. Step cuts, brilliant cuts, mixed cuts, modified cuts, all sorts of things look great in sapphires. It's a very versatile stone material. This very surprising piece of pink spinel is once again an octagon, and this is closer to what we call an asher cut. An asher cut is just one of the historical step cuts. It's got very large step facets to reflect the body color, and this is a very soft, gentle pink. As we turn the stone over, once again, you can see that it's got step facets. And the octagon shape just makes it really classic, really majestic. This is a very simple cut compared to many of the modern cut styles, but classic never goes out of fashion. Right here we've got an off-round, so this is what we call an oval, and you can notice there are triangular and kite-shaped facets on the top. That makes this a brilliant cut crown. But as we turn it over on the bottom, you can see that there are step facets going around this oval. So this is what we call a mixed cut, and it is the most common cut for colored stones, especially stones where weight preservation is the primary concern. Some stone materials are so rare that you have to maintain the weight. The earth doesn't churn out more of these, so whatever we find, we have to make the best use of. The mixed cut also gives us pops and flashes of color and scintillation while preserving the weight of the overall stone. So this is a oval mixed cut garnet. Same thing with this garnet right here, much darker garnet, but it's a brilliant cut on the top with star and kite facets radiating out from the table on the top, and on the bottom, step cuts. As we look at this sort of teal stone, we can see that it's not exactly a rectangle. This is what we call a cushion. Rounded rectangles, rounded squares are what we call cushions. And these are a very classic cut. They're one of my favorites. And you can notice that off of the table that it still has radiating triangular and kite-shaped facets. So this also is a brilliant cut top. As the stone is turned over, we can see that it once again has step cuts. As I've said before, this is one of the most common cuts with colored gemstone material. And this is the classic mixed cut. So this is a cushion mixed cut spinel. Last but not least, we have a rounded bottom and a pointed end. This is what we call a pear. And you can see once again the triangles and kite shapes radiating out from the table. This is a brilliant cut top. And another step cut bottom. So this is a pear mixed cut garnet. Okay, so hopefully after looking at all of those stones, it makes your life much easier and you can understand we've got mostly brilliant cuts and modified brilliant cuts. We've got step cuts, and then we've got the mixed cut, which, while it may look humble, is actually incredibly effective at showing off colored stones. And what I really want to reiterate for you is that gemstone cutters are constantly coming out with new types of cuts. Especially those cutters that have decades of experience are coming out with new styles of cutting that are unique to them. Learning all of the names is not necessary. If you like a cut, great, buy it. There's no way to say that this cut is better than that cut. The only way to evaluate it is whether or not that cut obeys the critical angles of the stone and reflects enough light. And then do you believe that that cut showcases the qualities of that stone in the best way? So for example, I've seen some emeralds out there that are cut in the mixed cut that usually works really well with sapphires and rubies. But the emerald that's cut in that way looks awful. I personally believe that when an emerald has too much flare going on, I'm like, you need to take a seat, you need to calm down, okay? We like you for other reasons, not for this. Really, gemstone cutting is about matching the personality of the stone with a cutting style that shows off that personality in the best way. It's like if those dry scientific types get up on stage and start trying to crack jokes that are outside of their humor, it's just unfortunate. I hope that this video has helped you to understand and demystify these gem cuts, give you a scaffolding with which to understand them. If you enjoy these videos, please tell your friends about them. That way they can broaden their horizons too, and we can all move forward in the future together. Realistically, we're all in lockdown. People need to broaden their horizons, and what better time to do it than now? Speaking of which, binge watch all of my videos. This is number 15, and I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to come to you next week and bring you more of the glories of gemstones. If we use this time when COVID-19 goes away, which is going to be sooner than later, then we will be ready to make use of the opportunities that the future gives us. All right, I'll see you all next week. Thank you for joining me on Gemology for Schmucks. Take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, wash your nasty hands, especially after you hit that like button and subscribe button. And I will see you all next week, possibly again from my apartment. Goodbye for now, everybody.